What is up, party people? Welcome back to another Markers PvP guide, man. We're doing big aggressive things with our healers out here. So we're talking about the Restoration Druid in 11.1. That is my main class. I'm loving it right now. Yes, we're not the strongest, but I really do enjoy the design. So I'm gonna give y'all my feedback, my things that I've learned, my builds, and all that kind of stuff for you to try out. Got to give you my disclaimer, as I always do with my guides. This is how I play. This is not the best way to play. If you do not play like I play, the builds that I talk about are probably not your best bet. But I just like to get the information out there because some of y'all do like to try to play like me, or they do play with me. Sorry, that sounds bad. But you do play like me, so I want to get that out to you guys. So let's get into it here. We got to talk about the gear, stats, tier sets, which is a little interesting, and then talk about the builds. I do have 4 builds I want to go over, two for 2s, 2 for 3s that I kind of mix and match, and then finally just some gameplay footage of examples of how to play. All right, so let's get into first. We have the gear and the stats. So me personally, I am going mastery, as much mastery and haste as possible. Right now I'm sitting around 10% haste, 2% verse, sorry, in PvP combat with Mark of the Wild. So very low verse. You can kind of flex this depending on the comp you're playing, if you feel like you're just getting attacked all the time. But my general thought process behind going such crazy haste, so I have in PvP roughly 20, just gonna adjust. No, this guy's PvP dummy. So I have roughly 20k haste, 20k mastery, roughly. So just so much about my, yes, my thought process behind doing this heavy haste was I'm not winning on throughput of healing alone, like sitting in the back and just healing. So I need to do something to win the game. What's going to help me do that is haste. So getting really fast clones off, as well as haste also increases your energy regeneration in cat form. With this kind of haste, you know, I can go in and pretty much swipe 5 combo points for free without having like any delay in my energy. So I'm able to get those combo points really quick and get off, you know, a lot of clones, a lot of globals, because when you are playing in, you're gonna have to use a lot more globals to cover and get back on defense. So just works for me. Don't have to do that. I would say mastery is, of course, your number 1, but you can kind of flex how much haste you want versus how much verse you want. So you can definitely just drop that haste down and get more verse if you'd like that. So moving along here, embellishments. The embellishments, honestly, man, they all kind of stink. So you can kind of do what you want. You don't have to copy me. This one's for damage. I do like a little bit extra damage with it. It's really not good. I'm playing the focusing lens. Some people play the energy redistribution device. That pretty much sucks too. It's like a 1% heal overall, so it's really not that important for you to play. You can play Dark Moon Ascendance. That's what I was playing last season, but it doesn't seem like it's scaling up with the eye level this season, so I decided to try something else. But you can do whatever you want. You can play the verse one. Maybe the verse one's actually probably better as well. I'm just playing this one for now. Maybe I'll recraft it in the future. But that's for that. Talking about the tier set, we definitely want our 4-set tier set. So if y'all haven't experienced insurance yet, it's a really nice heal for yourself. And it is actually very good for Resto Druid. So Resto Druid, I typically have between 4 and 8% of my healing off of insurance, depending on how much they're triggering it, it seems. So this one's up to 7%. So it's a really nice heal. It just triggers off of your HOTS. Once we get the 4-set, I currently don't have the 4-set. It's going to also have a chance to trigger, 15% chance in PvP to trigger off of your bloom. And that's going to synergize really nicely with the photosynthesis talent. So having both life blooms on allies will increase the chance for it to bloom, gives you a 4% chance of your HOTS to cause a bloom. And it typically does bloom quite a bit. So let me think, is this... This is the difference between not playing a bloom. So this is not playing photosynthesis. I bloomed. So I had just 10% split like that. Okay. So only 2% of my healing was off of blooming. And then versus like this one, I believe I'm running it. No, I'm not. Take that back. I'm not running it. But I don't know, whatever. It blooms more often, which gives you more chance to trigger that insurance, which gives you more healing off of it. And also we want it because that tier set, the 4-set there, is when the insurance leaves or is consumed, it leaves a missing rejuve, regrowth, or wild growth. And to my knowledge, it works in that order. So if you have a rejuve on the target, it'll go to a regrowth. If you have both of those, it's going to go to a wild growth. that is actually going to coincide with Germination. It's going to have good synergy with Germination because you may have one rejuve on the target already, and this is going to get that second rejuve. Out of those 3 hots that you could possibly get, obviously rejuve is the strongest hot. Regrowth and Wild Growth are pretty terrible in terms of their hot healing. They're just kind of there for their mastery buff. So Germination is going to sync really nicely. So you're going to want to most likely play Photosynthesis and Germination when it comes to playing the tier set this season. And you can kind of flex the other points as you will. But that is that for the tier set. I'm running everything but the chest piece because that's crit heavy. So running the other 4. Alrighty, that's it for the gearing and everything. Enchants and stuff, just speed enchants where you can, and then I'm running the haste weapon enchant, but you can certainly just play mastery. It doesn't matter there. Kind of play whatever you want, haste or mastery. All right, moving right along here, let's go into talent builds. So I got 4 builds I want to share. 2 that I use in 3/solo shuffle. Well, technically 3. And then 2 that I use in 2s. Haven't been playing much 2s myself. The game's been pretty slow. But let's start off with the solo shuffle. So again, this is me being crazy. I would not recommend playing like this, especially if you're newer to Druid. Get the hang of this first. So my goal with this build is just to clone and maim as much as possible. As many stuns, many clones, just be super disruptive to try to end the games. Because, you know, as we've seen, solo shuffle is pretty quick. And sometimes just 1 stun is all it takes to win the game. So playing around that, so some talents I have, Maim, I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm just gonna go through some of the highlighted stuff in this specific build. We are playing Maim here. I don't always play Star Surge. If I feel like I'm more of a target in some of the games, I end up just swapping to Lycurious, Meditation, and Perfectly Honed Instincts or something like that, just to give me a little bit more defensiveness, or even, you know, you can even go to like Matted for just some more defensiveness. The reason I play Star Surge is, again, I'm not playing for damage at all in this build. It's just for the increased healing of a Forest Guardian. If you're kind of forced out of the back, just gives you a little bit extra healing from the times that you need it. So we got that. And on the bottom here, if you're asking why I don't play these 2, I don't do damage, and I'm only in either Cat or Caster form, and I don't think the crit is really that crazy. Stampeding Roar, halving the cooldown is really important for me because I'm always playing in and getting Maims. So this is really useful to help me get out of the fight quickly to not get swapped to. Again, some of the defensive talents, Wild Instincts, Ursine Vigor, Verdant Heart, Ursoc Spirit, just to give me some more tankiness while I am playing in. And then Heart of the Wild, of course, for those fast cast clones. And don't forget, Heart of the Wild, when you do pair this with Call of the Elder Druid, gives you fast combo points during the those windows as well. All right. I am playing Wildstalker because mostly this one talent here, when you dispel, you gain a free combo point as you're dispelling as the game goes on. This is really nice to get you free combo points as the game's going to make those Maims even easier to get. Remember, Maim is a 20-second cooldown for a 5-second stun. One of the most powerful, if not the most powerful stun in the game. So just putting that out there. If you're getting Maims on cooldowns, you're going to be winning games. So swiping targets behind the pillar, swiping pets, whatever it may be. Okay, and then on this side of the tree here, I do swap some stuff. I shouldn't have Master Shapeshifter here. Hold on. This is not what I typically have. Oh, so without the 4 set, this is what I've been playing. I've been playing this, but I'm going to give you guys 4 set because I assume by the time you watch this, you're probably going to be playing 4 set. So we do want to have Photosynthesis. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to go with. It's either going to be Budding Leaves or Liveliness in terms of the healing throughput. My guess is Budding Leaves should be a little bit better. But I'll have to do some more testing there. And what, you know, if you don't want Elder Druid, you can actually add that second thing in there and you can get actually some pretty nice throughput healing. So that's where I would flex that point if you don't want to do any of those offensive stuff. Up here at the top of the tree, I do still take Trank. Some people not taking Trank because they lose the immunity talent. This is a massive heal. It was very buffed. So it is very strong still to have. For yourself at your disposal. So I would definitely hold on to that, and you can kind of flex some of these points up here. I personally was going for Renewing Surge just because I have really high haste, and each of these Swiftmends really helps out with getting more this talent gets help getting more Swiftmends, whether I'm playing Keeper of the Grove or Wildstalker. You get a very nice benefit from every single Swiftmend, and it could take a couple seconds off of it, which could make or break a game sometimes because you just need that Swiftmend so that you can NS and top somebody off. So that's what I'm running there. Okay, so that is it for that build. Moving on to the next one. So the next 3s one, I'm going to call my Restokin build. So this one's also a fun one to play. I've been playing this in 3s with Shadow Play specifically. So a comp that you can sit in the back and get a lot of cast off. I'm going to show you guys a game of this talent build in just a second. But this is kind of what I'm going down on here. On this build, we do want to play Starlight Conduit, playing Moonkin form, Fluid form, and playing both Meditation for the mastery from that you get from swapping in and out of Moonkin form, as well as the Circle of Heavens to give you a little more magic damage to help with the healing. And then on this side here, the only highlights we're looking at is Master Shapeshifter for the increased damage, and that increased damage is going to give us massive mana. That's why I like this in 3s. And then Dream of Cenarius is going to give me a little extra healing on that. And sometimes I've actually had some games where it was top or near top of my healing, which is crazy. Sorry, just to backtrack a second. I know I'm not talking about Symbiotic Relationship. It's like 1 to 2% of your healing. I just didn't think it was worth it off of some of the other talents, especially when I'm trying to sneak in as many defensive talents as possible to help out with my offensive gameplay. So I just didn't feel like I had the need for it. And I'm playing, Master Shapeshifter, and so I don't need an Innervate. And in Shuffle, you just don't need an Innervate as well. So I felt like I was wasting a point here just for a 1% heal. So I'm not playing that. And then again, Restokin, obviously you want to play Keeper of the Grove for that increased damage on the rats. Okay. Let me give actually a quick example here of one of the games. Which game? I had a game where it was like literally like my top heal. Yeah, like that's insane. This was a 3v3 game. I had so much time to cast just the way that we were positioned and whatnot. So Dream of Cenarius was my top heal with an overheal on top of that. So you can imagine how great of uptime I have on my HOTS with Forest Guardian because of that. So there we go on that build. And the last 3s build is just a kind of the similar thing. I actually don't need, I forgot to take this off here. I would probably end up just taking some defensive stuff. So there, and it's down here. So this last one was more if I'm playing with double casters where I need to stun a lot. So like a God Comp, a Mage Lock, a Shadow Priest Lock, anything where I need to do heavy stunning, and I'm not really going to be in that caster form much. This is what I ended up playing. So again, kind of very similar to the Solo Shuffle build. Actually, kind of like is the same thing as Solo Shuffle, huh? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as Solo Shuffle. I'm just going to leave that one out then, because it is the same thing. I just a couple of talents switched at the bottom because of the tier set. So I'm actually not going to talk about that one for right now. Let's move on. We got the 2 twos ones. We have a 2s cat based one. So this one's going to be Wildstalker. And this one is focused on cat form damage with Star Surge. So that's kind of my gameplay going into 2s. Some little highlights here. I do have the NS talent because I do feel like I don't need, really, I don't. I feel like I don't. The reason I dropped this is I feel like I don't Swiftmend on cooldown in 2s just because the healing requirement is actually so low right now. So I've felt like doing more, either Nature Splendor or shorter NS, either or. If you feel like you're kind of losing in deep dampening, maybe this big NS is a little bit better to take. But yeah, and then obviously Convoke down here. That is a 2s one. So there, I'm gonna give you guys links to all of these, of course. And the last one here is my 2s Boomy one. So this one is prioritizing doing damage in caster form / tree form. Depending on with the reforestation. So on here, playing the same Moonkin talents, I did still want to take Maim because there was so much. Again, 2s is really slow right now, so I do have time sometimes if I just need a clutch stun when if somebody doesn't have trinket, or stun something and then go for a Convoke behind a pillar or something like that. So it does have a niche use, but kind of dropped off on some of the defensive talents here, so you can certainly swap some of these in if you'd like, but I was just focusing on more swords on the damage. The damage comes from the casted stuff, and I do still have the opportunity to get a lot of stuns to complement my team depending on the comp I'm playing. All right, so those are all the builds I got. PvP talents, there's not really much option anymore, so I personally play these 3 all the time. I never change them. I know some people do like to play Ancient of the Lore. Maybe you want to drop Tireless Pursuit because you're not doing a lot of cat form based stuff. You certainly can. I personally don't like this tree form. I like the regular tree form, but that's up to you. I think personally the only reason I would want to play this is if I'm versing like maybe a DK comp, and this just helps me as a CC immunity to survive the goes. So being able to just NS tree form, maybe he has a gap or something like that. So that's why I run that. But otherwise, there's really no other talents. Maybe a slim case of running early spring and shuffle, especially pair that with Wildstalker. You might actually get some pretty nice extra throughput in terms of the healing there. So yeah, these are my talents. I don't really even touch these. Alrighty, so I think that covers at least the general gameplay or the general talents and whatnot. I know I have a lot of builds there, but next here, I just want to really just super quickly go over the basics of healing with Resto Druid itself. Is there a healing dummy here? I swore there was a healing dummy here. Training dummy. Otherwise, I'm just gonna heal myself. Maybe I'm dumb. I could have swore there was something here. Alright, anyway. So, basics of healing. your most important spell is Life Bloom. Because it gives you 3 stacks of harmony. It also procs off, or also with photosynthesis. It's really nice to give you the extra blooms. And yeah, most important hot because of that reason. There's just a lot of nice effects of it. One niche thing about Life Bloom, if you do not already know this, you can refresh it within the last 4 seconds. To get that bloom effect without having to let it fall off. So you'll see once I'm in under 5 seconds, if I do press this, it's going to give me that big bloom effect. So just something to note, I do have a weak aura for it. You could just kind of Google Life Bloom weak aura and it's going to show you that as well, or type !Life Bloom in my Twitch chat for that link. So that is your most important spell. After that, my second most important thing that I do, can I even Life Bloom any of these things? Okay, I can Life Bloom this guy at least. So I have Life Bloom on my targets, and then I'm going to try to regrowth myself and get regrowths on all 3 because of the rampant growth talent. So when you regrowth one target, it also applies regrowth to those other 2 targets with Life Bloom. So that's going to give you that triple regrowth spam. So those are the 2 maintenance things: 2 Life Blooms, regrowth on everybody. That should be the baseline. Okay, from there you hot as you need. Okay, Swift Mending on cooldown is your most important thing, and then you are going to trigger Soul of the Forest. So you're either going to use this for a really big regrowth or a big rejuve or wild growth. Typically not wild growth in PvP, but rejuve or regrowth. Do not sleep on those rejuves, okay? Those rejuves are typically more useful, except for if you like really need a big emergency heal and you already have a lot of hots on your target, or if you're going to NS with that. So Nature Swiftness for that big chunky regrowth, because you combine those 2, that's how you get those big heals. All right, so that is the general gameplay on there. So like, you know, just example, he has Life Bloom. I Life Bloom or regrowth myself. We give hots on both of us. A Swift Mend on cooldown. Throw an extra rejuve in there, and then a Cenarian Ward on cooldown, just so whoever's getting attacked. Refresh those hots, and then kind of do anything else in between. So you know, I could do some wrathing, refresh or help keep those hots up. Add Grove Guardian as needed. You can also throw it on efflorescences if you're kind of stuck on a pillar or your teammate's not really moving a lot. Just some optional stuff, but really the maintenance is just the 2 Life Blooms. Rejuve myself, so I get regrowth on both of these guys. You know, Swift Mending, throwing big rejuves out, and then just maintenance. If you do need to spam heal, if you feel like you have every single hot on the target, you might just have to spam regrowth. Good alternative is just to go for CC instead of that. A lot of times you don't have the throughput, maybe it's dampening or whatnot. If you have full hots on your target, don't just sit there spamming regrowth. Maybe go for a Cyclone or a Stun, because that could prevent damage to help you actually recover, because obviously your healing is not doing it. So yeah, that is that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Just some quick little niche tips in terms of other gameplay, so maybe some things you might not know. So if in cat form, if you are trying to get combo points as fast as possible, if you do look at the energy cost of some of these spells, everything is 40, Rake is 35, and Swipe is 35. So when you are trying to get combo points as fast as possible, do not just sit spam Shred. Shred will do more damage, like in 2s. It might be worth it to just Shred, because you're able to do more damage and do more healing off of it with your Mercenaris. But typically you're just going to want to Swipe or Rake. You know, you can maybe Rake 2 targets instead, and then go for that stun, that Maim stun off of that. Okay, so just a little side note there. If a target is in a Cyclone, I can't clone this guy here, but you can swipe a target in a clone and you will get combo points off of that. So another cool little niche thing that you didn't already know. What else want to say? Oh, in terms of the Restokin build, Maim is on cooldown. No. Okay. Now Maim is not on cooldown. There we go. Just quick thing in terms of this, just because I did talk about in previous video, but if you do want to play Fluid Form, Moonkin Form build in whether 2s or 3s or even Shuffle, make sure that you are, basically what's going to happen in the general gameplay is you'll be Star Surging on cooldown, and then you're going to press Wrath, and it's going to shift you into Moonkin Form as you're spamming these Wraths. And what I would recommend is just make your entire Moonkin Form bar the same exact thing as your Human Form bar. So what that will do is make it easier on the binding. So I press Wrath, and then I need to go back to healing without having to shift out. I just press Life Bloom and it shifts me out. Okay, so keep your forms the same, adjust your keybinds accordingly so that you can do that, and it's going to help out a ton. Being able to just be able to spam, you know, go for heals, go back to spamming, put you back in their form, and you can keep pumping. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about in terms of that. So I think that is all I wanted to cover. Miss anything? Don't think I did. I don't think I did. Okay, so let's just go over the quick gameplay. So I'm going to show you 2 different games. One is going to be how I play in Solo Shuffle. The other one's going to be that Restokin build in 3s, because I know some people are interested in that and want to see how to make it work. So this build, this was a shuffle of Double Warrior, Hunter, Arcane Mage, Shaman. So you'll see in this game how I try to take advantage of those stuns, those clones, even Typhoon specifically in this one. Forward this here. So starting with Life Loom both targets, throw out my Send Ward, go in stealth. If you are not threatened, I would even go behind a pillar and cast Regrowth on myself. So get Regrowth on everybody here, just to have as much HOTS as possible. So we're going to push in off the bat here. My warrior's waiting for something. I don't even know. Oh, the other warrior wasn't in there yet. So he precogs him somehow. I don't even know how he precogged him. But I had to wait on that, go for the stun out. I got knocked out by something. I don't even know what. So I had to bash him. We did overlap that, unfortunately. Okay, popping Tree Farm. I always pop Tree Farm instantly. So something I did there, by the way, this is super, super important with all the hunters out there. This failed. It doesn't always work, but it does work a lot of the time. If you look what I did here. So I popped Tree Form, I popped my Treants, and I'm standing on top of my Treant. I couldn't tell you how many games I've won because I ate traps with my trees. So it didn't work here, but it does work quite often. So do stack on those Treants when you are versing a hunter. So we're gonna Overgrowth and just spam as many HOTS as possible here. Get it. Don't worry about your mana. I'm Iron Barking. Kind of a little bit overlap on the parry, and then once my HOTS are up, that's when I want to start doing some offensive stuff. Do not sit there. There's nothing else to do. So I'm gonna try to look for an offensive go here. I did kind of just a little psychology here. I was sitting here in front of this Druid Shaman, so I knew he was going to try to kick me on this. So we go for a quick fake. I get my combo points here, trying to wait for the DR to fall, so it falls there. I do look for an opportunity to clone, but my warrior swaps to him, so I cut it back. Looking for a clone there. He unfortunately just lines. So got to go back to just maintaining those HOTS. Make sure, like I said, keep those life looms up. That's the most important thing. If they're at full health, I would still keep the life loom on them. All right, so this guy goes for a poly. He kicks me, or the shaman kicks me at least, and then I go for a kick on the mage. Get some combo points there. I guess going for he can end up trapping me here. So not great. I do end up trading the trinket just because I know this. This is shuffle. Don't want to sit CC like that. That one I probably could have sat, to be honest. All right, we're gonna go in cat form here. We're gonna wait for the DR. We're gonna get a Maim onto the target, position myself to get a knock, drop down so I can't get kicked, go for a cyclone. I actually should have went for a second clone there, but I think it actually ended up being enough. We stormbolt the hunter over there and we actually knocked down a kill. So that is the general gist of my shuffle gameplay. So looking for clones. I know this is just one example. I just don't want to make this video take too long, but that is one example of how I play in shuffle. So very heavy on those stuns and just keeping up as many HOTS as possible. Overheal as much as you need to because these games are so short that it really does not matter. Yeah, clone and stun, man. And also just something I didn't really get to show you there, but cloning DPS. Okay, so you're cloning the healer. If you can't clone the healer anymore, clone DPS. Just stop damage. We do not have the best throughput as Druid, but we do have the opportunity to clone things, which is like a massive defensive, if you will, because you're able to clone something, a DPS, which means they can't do damage for 5 seconds. That is amazing. It allows you to recover and get back into the game. So this one here is my Restokin build that I talked to you about. So this is a way to apply this build. I think this is a super, super fun way to play, and we've never been able to do this before because of some of the talents like Forest Guardian and Dreamers and RS. So we are playing, I really wouldn't recommend this unless you're playing double caster, where you can kind of free cast and sit in the back. So I go for a stun on the warrior off the bat. This ends up being a really crappy opener for me. So I get stunned, I bark skin, we're still dying, get silenced out, got to trinket it. I trinket Overgrowth. I even go for a meld. We got the overlap swap, so really, really big opener from them, but we are going to be able to survive this. Spamming full HOTS, double rejuice. That work. Okay. All right, and then now we commence the damage. Okay. So once everything is hotted up and you've got HOTS on everything, I'm going to start Star Surging and then spamming as many wraths as possible. As you'll notice, his HOTS just keep going up. Because I have such high haste, I'm able to wrath so much, the actual life loom cast is going up. It's not going down. So Priest comes in here, we're going to use that root. Again, another reason why I like this tree form better than the other tree form. You can do things like that instant cast root, can save your life in some of these games. So I go for the stun off that. He doesn't have trinket, I know that, so I want to try to reposition away from that guy. And again, if you are playing this build, you want to play almost like you're playing a Disc Priest. Just stay out of the fight, okay? Constantly rotating to put yourself in a position where you cannot be swapped to or you cannot be CC'd. Preferably a place where you can actually even get CC on the healer too. So we got our HOTS up. I'm going to go back to spamming that Wrath. As you'll see, it puts me in a Moonkin form. Spamming all that damage as much as I can. I have Heart of the Wild up, doing some nice chunky damage to knock him away. Watching for the Shadow Priest here. I was a little bit too slow here. I could have leaped away if I was a little quicker. So that's my mistake there. But fortunately, we do have enough HOTS there. And we're getting some nice counter pressure. Props that Siphene. I think I'm going to try to kill it. I actually got a re-stealth. So a little side note tip there. is if you do get hit by a full CC chain, whether it's a full poly, a full trap, a full fear, full clone, maybe not clone anymore, but keep an eye out. I have this little weak aura, tell me when, that just shows me when prowl is available, aka when I'm out of combat. You can find any other thing to do that with, but sometimes it's nice to actually go in, instead of coming out and just immediately healing. It's more impactful to go in stealth, get a stun, and then start healing, because you can stop a lot more damage. So I get a stealth because I saw this guy had no trinket, so I thought it would be a better idea actually to go in stealth, get him there, and then now pop all my heals. And then I didn't have enough. He was on DR, unfortunately, so I couldn't clone him, but reposition myself back to a good spot and then go back to doing that damage. So I'm going to clone this priest. He's going for cooldowns. I get void volleyed on, unfortunately, and then they're going to swap me. They just choose to use that gate. Back to just being careful, man. I mean, especially when we're not playing high verse, you got to be on your game in terms of the kiting. So going back to spamming Wrath, and like I said, I'm getting some decent healing out of this, and I'm maintaining that HOTS for when I need them. So Star Surge, again, just spamming those rats. I thought we were going to actually kill here, but we don't. Keeping an eye out. We only have one life flume up. I should life flume myself here. I actually chose life flume him. I don't know who they were going to go, I guess. So this was a great spot to actually get a clone. Fortunately, I dispelled. Would have been good if I just held off a little bit longer there. Gotta go for a clone on the healer. He grounds it, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, you guys are getting the gist of it. So just keeping those HOTS up. This is not easy to play, and this is why I play high haste, because it allows me to do things like this. It's just so global intensive that having the haste makes my globals faster. I can cast a lot more of these spells, knock them off there. Keeping those HOTS up, I'll end up life fluing myself. Re-go with the warlock, so all three of us get it. And then just going back to damage. Just anytime there's any downtime, get as many HOTS, like I said. And also to note, with this build, you have Master Shapeshifter, so you're not going to I promise you that. It is really hard to if you are plussing those offensive spells. So do not worry about just overhealing like crap and then just spamming those Wraths and keep them up via Forest Guardian. Get those HOTS up as much as you can. So I don't know why, like, I didn't have fear for 2 seconds. He shouldn't have ran up to me that quick. So gonna end up potting myself. Guy gets feared, dispel him. Got to pull these guys out of, pull the warrior out of line of sight of his healer. Rotating around, use that stampeding roar. That's why I like that stampeding roar, man. And then range, go back to just casting Raz. I think this is when we end up killing him. He leaps over to me, I believe. Keep the HOTS up. Make sure you are submitting on cooldown with Keeper of the Grove. That gives you about, like, for me, it gives me like 12% haste, 13% haste. So really important to keep pressing that. Guy stops over to me, trade Bark Skin. End up stunning him low, and then I think we finish him off here. And there he goes. So there you go. There's a good idea. And like I said, you can do some pretty insane healing / damage with this build. So that is how the Restokin build works. Hopefully this video helps you out. It's long enough, almost 30 minutes of our Druid content. So thank y'all for watching. If you're still here, please like the video. Give me a nice piece of feedback in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.